Hey man, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. You can see I've been growing out my beard just a little bit too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I got
What are
some
you
work to
talking
do.
about?
Well, one of these days I'll be like you, but
It's not so much work, it's more time.
it's yeah. I got plenty of time, right? I hope so. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining for an episode of the Wag Pod. We have Ian with CPR Canine Training. Now, it's not CPR as in CPR. Do you want to explain what those letters mean?
Well, originally it started as just like more of a training concept.
Sure.
Consistency, perfection, and repetition. Basically, that's how you build what you're looking for.
Right.
But then also the approach to it is calm, patient, and respectful. So that's how we want to approach who we're working with, but also we want to bring that tenacity of, hey, we need a sense of urgency in our training, and
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta bring some heart into it too. It
Yeah.
ties into a bunch of stuff.
Definitely. And having CPR as an acronym, that's kind of nice too. It kind of
And
gets
then
me,
also, I mean,
people are asking
for any of
questions.
the clients out there, I
Right.
am also CPR certified for pets. So,
Nice.
there's that too.
That's a triple CPR right there. I like
There
that.
you go. I don't know, and in this day and age, we'll just keep coming up with more acronyms. So let's go.
Awesome. So you are right now building your own app, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You
Yeah,
want,
I've been in the process of building it since like the first of this year, I think is when it launched.
yeah. And it's you and ChatGPT, right? I remember we were chatting about that.
That's basically, yeah, that's what it's like. I have all these ideas of what I wanted to put into this app, and
Sure.
then I'm like, I don't know how to technology, and technology's like, I'll
Yeah.
teach you how to technology, and I'm like, cool, thanks.
It was perfect timing. So you want to talk a little bit about what the app is and kind of what you hope to achieve with it?
So ultimately, what the app is for me, it's as a trainer, it's a tool for me in my toolbox, records management, keeping documenting your progress in training is obviously really important, and I think that's a piece of the puzzle that a lot of people miss, or at least they don't understand the importance of it. And
Right.
so what I've started doing is making digital forms to help me as a trainer document things so I can also it's easy pass off to clients and everything, but also
Right.
as other handlers and trainers, getting them in the practice of, okay, now document your own dog's training. And then there's a spot in the app to submit your records and
Right.
everything like that. And so that's kind of at the heart of it, the functionality, that's what it's for. And then on top of that, there's resources in there. What are you dealing with? There's some articles about aggression, food aggression, crate training, all sorts of stuff. Then there's also lesson plans, basically blueprints that you can follow. It's all self-paced. It's got homework in it that you can follow or you can complete and then submit. And then as basically we get more help with this, making it more gamified so it's
Right.
not so boring, right? And so there's
Yeah.
going to be you
You
complete the
have those
homework
daily quests
assignments.
in there, right? I
Yes. And
like
so
that.
that's what it's the idea is
Medieval.
you complete this stuff. Yeah, it's just like, hey, we got to make this stuff fun. And sometimes going out with your dog, it's stressful because you're just focused on what do I focus on? I'm trying to work on this. Hold on. Here's your quest today. Just
Yeah.
focus on
It's
this.
simple.
And
A simple
yes,
quest. I
and
like
then
that
it
concept.
earns you experience points, and then obviously you're building your real life experience. But then if you log it into the app, the concept is that you can save up your experience points for lessons with a trainer or
Nice.
something like that. And so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I like
there's a
that.
lot going on. There's a lot
Sure.
going on.
Sure. But it's
So
good to
so I
have
don't know about
a
the
lot going on, right? It's good to have a lot of different ideas going on. And it seems like
It's
you've been
good for
able
me,
to.
but right now the app is definitely hard to go through. So I
Sure.
want to say that it's all growing
Sure.
together. But that's kind of the thing is I'm also trying to collaborate with people locally because I recently moved from West Virginia to Ohio, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of the other thing, the timing of that. And
Right.
what else do I have going on? Schooling.
Yeah.
schooling too. So that's the other thing going on
So you're
with
taking, are you taking classes or are you giving classes?
both.
Nice.
But my classes right now, I'm going through Animal Behavior Institute, and it's for service and therapy dog training.
Cool.
And so that's kind of the other thing too is
The therapy dog project, is that I saw you post
yes,
about that the other day, right?
yes. I just want to get that out there. It's
Sure.
it's just like this big idea. You know how like a class comes together and they're like, hey, we have this class project, and it can be like a semester long or a year long thing or something like that. It's like, why don't we start getting dogs
Putting
out
it
of
out there.
shelters, getting dogs
Exactly.
out of shelters, and then training them within the school and stuff. And there's again, a lot of moving components from it from a psychological standpoint as well.
Sure, sure. I mean,
But
dogs on that end, from what I've heard about therapy dogs, typically, I guess I've heard them being from breeders and they have a certain temperament. Do you see a lot of success in converting, dogs from shelters or rescues to being therapy dogs? Is that something that's
I
successful?
don't think it's something that can be done. Like, so with breeders, I feel like obviously the ones that got a good grasp on it, they can kind of shape the puppies along the way. When you're going
Sure.
into a rescue or something like that, you kind of have to know what you're looking for. You can't just go in and you have to temperament test the dogs and all this stuff. So can it be done? Yes. Should it be just done by anybody? Not necessarily, but that's kind of what the therapy project is kind of designed just to get all the information out there. What do you do to recondition a dog? No matter what, it's going to be helpful, whether or
Right.
not the dog is cut out for therapy work or
Yeah.
either way, it can be some type of project. It's whether
Sure.
it's, hey, we're taking this dog and collectively as a class, we're creating an environment that is therapeutic for the dog to
Right.
get reconditioned. And then it's a class project to rehome the dog or something
Yeah.
like that.
I love it, man. I love it. I love how you have so many different things going on. I mean, we've talked about it and I see a lot of parallels between us, right? Like I just moved to a new area. I'm looking for new clients. We have some, philanthropic thing. We're working on an app and I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome what you're doing. I think it's nice to have a lot of projects going on because it's a positive feedback loop, right? Like everything is feeding on itself, right? Like if one person you're taking a class or teaching a class with here's about therapy dog project, or one of your clients really likes everything feeds on itself. And I think, you're obviously very determined and professional. And I know that your background starting dog training, that was in the military, correct?
Yeah, I can be professional. I don't always like being professional. You
Yeah,
know,
well,
it's
professional, I guess it's a bit of a subjective term. Professional and you get the job done. It doesn't really matter how you do it, right?
exactly. And so sometimes I like
To
to
an
play
extent.
this
Sometimes you
the
do.
anti-professional just to prove a point sometimes,
Yeah.
but that's just the pathological demand avoidance in me, but that's another story. But
Yeah.
yes, that's when you reached out, obviously, like I said, I went through your episodes and I've been listening to not I mean, just the stuff that you were working on, but then all the people that you were reaching out to and all the
Yeah.
projects that they're working on too. And that's just like what you are doing is very motivating. And I like what you are doing too, because it's taking what concepts that are already out there, but again, filling the gaps almost, and kind
Definitely.
of again
Yeah.
highlighting a lot of the positive out there, because
Yeah.
from what I see a lot of the times with the dog stuff, it's a lot of just
Bickering.
flashiness,
Bickering and back and forth
flashy
or yeah.
bickering. I can beat a dead horse better than you can. And it's like,
Yeah.
just can we move on from the dead horse and find some
Right.
better things to
Right.
do? And so that's what you're doing, I feel like is just momentum in that direction.
I
And so
appreciate that, man.
kudos to you.
I mean, it's tough in the sense of like, yeah, episodes aren't getting, a ton of views but the key is like, hey, I can do this. I have time. I love talking to people and giving them a platform to share their story. And I'd mentioned this on, it hasn't come out yet, but on an episode, I remember in our previous talk when, you had like given me a nice compliment, like, I've listened to your episodes and I've really like what you're doing. Like it's incredibly meaningful, because family and friends, they're gonna support you oftentimes, but meeting a new person and like that's motivating for me. And it's just been really cool, and I've been looking forward to chatting a little bit. So do you want to kind of break down a little bit how you started getting into it? I know you worked with military police dogs, but before that, you were in the military training dogs, and that's where you kind of got your start.
Well, no, so actually flip-flopped a little bit. So
Okay.
I joined the Marines. I joined the Marines as a military police officer,
Yeah.
and then from there I worked on did on-the-job training and stuff and became a working dog handler. And then from there,
And how
that
do you go and start doing that? Like you just kind of felt like, hey, I really enjoy working with dogs, and it
well,
happened.
for me, the doggies have always been in my heart.
Yeah.
But so honestly, I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I joined the Marines, dude.
Yeah.
Um, I had no idea. Okay, let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So first, I started to go to school for business. I went to a community college
Yeah.
and I had no idea what I was doing. Very overwhelmed. Got
Sure.
the lowest grades in the class. I was like, well, I must be stupid. Let me join the police academy. And they're like,
Right.
you're too young. I was like, well, what do I do? And somebody's like, join the military. I'm like, cool, there's a Coast Guard station right there. I'll do that for 2 years and then join the police academy. They're like, that's not how it works. And I'm like, okay, I guess what do I do? And somebody suggested, well, you can join another branch. I'm like, I've heard not good things about the Army,
Yep.
Air Force, stereotypically, chair force, is like, I'm not doing that. And then Navy, I was like, well, I guess I could do that. And I was like, oh, they have maritime police officer. Like that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, you could be a Marine. I was like, no, I don't even know what that. I don't know anything about the military.
Yeah.
Long story short, I contacted a Coast Guard recruiter. They didn't reach out to me. I contacted a Marine recruiter. They contacted me 2 minutes later, and then they're like, "What job do you want to do?" I'm like, "You guys have different jobs?"
This is awesome. Yeah.
They showed me a pamphlet. I'm like, oh, police officer. I'm like, there's a dog. How do I do the dogs? He's like, I have no idea. But you have to sign this kind of got it. And then I went to boot camp. How do I get to the dogs? It's like, okay, well, got it. It's like, how do I then I go to military police school, and basically that's when they're like, you have to get to your duty station. That's when you have to contact people and work with people in the canine field.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. And so basically, I did my MP school. Then I got stationed in Japan, and as soon as I got to Japan, I was like, "Where are the dogs at?" And basically, I was doing that. And so, in between working my shifts, my night shifts, as soon as I would get off, I would take a bus. It was like a 3 hour bus ride from
Are you
no,
serious?
northern Okinawa down to the southern bases in Okinawa.
Yeah.
And then I would work with the dog handlers
Mhm.
for however long their shift was, and then I'd take a 3 hour bus ride back, and then I'd do that
You just
until
sleep on the
they,
bus, or what did you sleep?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd sleep on the bus. Um, and then eventually they're like, hey, I remember one day I showed up to OJT, basically just train with them. They're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, what do you think I'm doing here?
Yeah.
They're like, well, there's a school spot open. We're doing a board right now. Go interview. I'm like, I'm in my training uniform.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be spruced up and stuff. They're like, no, just go. I'm like, okay. Answered the questions. They're like, congrats, here you go. You're going to canine school. Went to canine school, became a
Nice.
canine handler. And so that's kind of how that process went. And then so from there you go to um, the handlers course, and all the branches go there. So
Okay.
all it's a joint service base.
Gotcha.
All the branches go there.
Is this in
Uh,
Japan as well, or is this still in the
they
United States?
it's in
Oh,
Texas.
Texas. Okay.
Yep. So um, you go. So I got a little vacation from Japan to go to Texas. Went to canine school. That's at that time it was about a 3 month process. I think it's longer now. Um, and then basically went back, worked as a handler for a while, and then I got selected to become a trainer and go back to Texas, and that's where I got to train the working dogs,
Nice.
basically the dogs that they don't even know their own names.
Yeah.
Some of them they come pre-trained and all sorts of stuff. But it was a great place to learn, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
I bet that felt very rewarding as well. Like you kind of coming into the Marines like, hey, I'm not really sure what I want to do. You had, taking those business classes wasn't for you, and then now you're like having people tell you to go become a trainer and you do that and you do that successfully. That has to be a very rewarding moment, for you.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, there was plenty. Once I became a trainer, there was plenty of self-doubt along the way because I'm like, man, at a certain point, you're like, as a handler, you're like, I got this. I'm working
Yeah.
my own dog.
Yeah.
This is great. I can teach him things. And then you go to train other dogs and just dogs on
Right.
dogs on
So
dogs. And you're like,
handler means you are only are you training your own dog?
as a handler, you are trained to handle a dog that is already trained.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And
Okay.
so as a trainer, you are training that however, as a handler, training is always happening.
It's all yeah.
You are a component of the training. However, you likely have a trainer that is setting up training scenarios for you.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and so we would also, as trainers, handlers had opportunities to come and kind of shadow and mentor for a few
Yeah.
weeks and then go back out to the field and everything too. So that's why it's again so many learning opportunities and a lot of awesome mentors. That's what across all the branches. That's where I was going. I had as a trainer, that's as a handler, you know what you're doing. As a trainer, you start realizing that, oh man, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I had a lot of good mentors. Is like,
Yeah.
you got this,
Right.
you got this. Keep going, keep going, keep. And
Right.
then bump, 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 bump. You're like, yeah, I got it. And then you meet another dog that you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that's the you have,
It's always a learning process and there's always something new going on and you have a support system behind you.
and in that environment, we had people that some of them like me came from the field that brings all the experience they have. So I had a little bit of experience. Some people have 15 years of experience, blah, blah, blah. Then they come as a trainer. Some people, they go straight from handler's course to becoming a trainer.
Right.
So you're getting just not just different background, different levels of experience. And there are times that the experienced guys are bickering, arguing back and forth. Like, "Oh, let's try this. No, let's try this." And then a lot of people they shut up. They tell the new person, shut up, don't
Yeah.
blah blah blah. But that's where a lot of people make mistakes because you're like, hey, what do you think? Oh, I think this. That's really basic. Bop, bop, it worked.
Right.
And so you learn to listen to just about everyone too. And I think that's the other concept is then you start learning to listen to just, hey, the dog probably has your answer for you. It's really
Yeah.
simple. But a lot of times we overcomplicate things.
Yeah. Is
So
that
yes.
so? Do you find that there's like a place for a little bit more organization within that canine training, or do you think that it almost has to be kind of each trainer finds the best way to do it using the team around them?
Depends on what the I think the end goal is. Um, because in that environment, we have one goal. We are taking a trailer of 18 dogs and we are training them to be military assets.
Right.
And so in that environment, everybody's fixated on getting these dogs to do a singular thing. Whereas outside of that bubble, that hyper fixated bubble, there's areas where basically you have to find what works without I don't know the words I'm looking for.
Sure. Sure. Well, I mean, I can definitely gather what you're saying. Like it's a way more complex process than just, hey, follow this to have someone become a trainer, and then they're gonna know exactly what you do. Like there's constant levels of learning. There's also human interactions that are
You
happening
have
as
to
well.
account for what the dogs were bred for as well. So
Sure.
that's another that I guess that's kind of where I was going. I got a little bit
Yeah.
off track because in that scenario in those cases we are working with high caliber working dogs that were bred to do a lot of that stuff. So you
Right.
can't take that caliber of training into the pet world. And I think that's where I was trying to go with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And so that's where you have to step out of the trainer mindset of I'm going to get this dog to do X, Y, and Z, where it's like, hey, we are going to figure out what this dog wants to do. And a lot of times, if it's going to be breed dependent. And so again, you're taking a lot of guys that I know what to do with this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog. What do I do with this breed?
Right.
Well, you got to do a little bit of research. What was that
Yeah.
dog bred to do? These dogs were bred to do everything you know how to train them to do. What are you trying to get this dog to do?
Right.
And so it's being adaptable, no matter what,
Definitely.
period. I guess
Yeah.
that's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. And then so from there, you said you moved to West Virginia and then recently to Ohio.
Yes. And so basically, I got out of the military right around the time my daughter was born,
Yeah.
and I got a job working for a civilian contracting company as a handler.
Yeah.
And so I worked in West Virginia for a little while, and that's where I
Yeah.
started my business.
Yeah.
And then from there, the goal was always to move back home to Ohio because that's where
Right.
family is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And right around the time our kids got to school age, that was the goal. And so we moved back home to Ohio. And so now I'm basically just restarting everything up here uh,
Definitely.
with with the assistance of apps and technology and stuff, I
Right.
suppose.
Yeah. So how has that been? Or I guess when did you officially start your own dog training business in West Virginia?
I'd say it was 2021,
Okay.
I believe.
Okay. So you had worked there for about, 4 or so years and built up a clientele there. You had consistent, reasonably consistent business. How's that transition been? Like coming to Ohio, is it really, really hard mentally as well to build back, or is it, just part of the grind?
Coming back home for me, period, was challenging. Um, but I think no matter what, building the business back up pretty much is kind of like the same steps. Just
Nice.
it's because no matter what, it's like I still started with kind of paying for Facebook ads and stuff like that, and that gets you little trickles here and there. But ultimately, once word of mouth catches,
Right.
that's when things start just flowing, and
Yeah.
that's basically I've been lucky enough to use this slow business time
Hmm.
to focus on my schooling and certifications
Yeah.
and doing all that. Also, while my kids are adjusting to a new school and new sports teams and all that type of stuff. Um, and so now it's about the time where we're kind of settled into a groove here.
Yep.
I've got word of mouth flowing,
Yep.
and I've had this idea for this app for a good while, and
Sure.
I'm able to finally start building that out and
Yeah.
everything too. And so it's been a weird transition,
Definitely.
but ultimately the steps to business and training are pretty much the same.
Sure. And it's very cool to see that, you're ultimately doing what you wanted to do. You wanted to be back in Ohio to be near your family and you wanted to kind of restart and build and I agree, it's word of mouth is pretty much the way to go in this business, right? Like it's anything dog care related, whether it's training, walking, house sitting, those Facebook ads and the Instagram ads only works, to a certain extent.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
So, going back to your app a little bit, I like that you've kind of had that central idea of documentation, right? Because I think, talking to you and talking to other trainers, what I've realized, I mean, it's the first C, right? Consistency is, I mean, it has to be consistent. And I think that like, I don't know, for me personally, I am at my, more efficient and getting more things done whenever I'm actually using my planner. It's not just sitting there and not, but I'm actually writing down each day. And let me tell you what, I haven't been doing a great job of that. But it's I think having that as your central kind of theme or idea of like, hey, you're documenting. what you're doing with each of these dogs, and then you're encouraging your clients to document as well. Now, can clients see your documentation? I assume you can see theirs, but what does that kind of look like for you?
So ultimately, yeah, that's if I am filling out a form, I'm going to be sending it to the client. I recommend that clients save them in their own personal records, and then I am going to log it into their records tab in
Hmm.
the app
Nice.
so that we have a consistent place, and then also I can send pictures and videos and stuff like that too. But ultimately, yeah, the forms get saved kind of anywhere. My mind went to a different place.
No, you're good.
Because the idea is eventually you can take all of those forms, you can print them out and make a physical journal if you would like, because
Cool.
that was the other thing is my goal is to build a physical journal so you can kind of step away from all the digital stuff too, because you
Yeah.
need a break from that every now and then too.
Do you feel like
Um,
having that like journal is more helpful for you or helpful for clients?
I feel it depends on how you function. So I go back to when I was in the military. I was also the team leader, so I was in charge of going over everybody's records.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I signed up to be a Marine. I
Yeah.
signed up to be a military police officer. I signed up to be a dog trainer. I did not sign up to be an elementary school grammar teacher to a bunch of Neanderthals. But that's what ended up happening.
Yep.
And so luckily I had an awesome English teacher in 10th grade and
Yeah.
in senior year. And so I want to shout out Miss Gallagher if you're even ever listening. But anyways, because I it helped me a lot to actually help these guys make their records actually flow in the way that our training did.
Right.
Because it's important because when we are taking these dogs, the dogs cannot communicate. They
Right.
cannot say what kind of training they went through and everything. So it is up to us to really document what is what is working with the dogs, what is not working with the dogs, what is working for you, what is not working for you, blah 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 blah, so that everybody involved can get a consistent picture of what is going on, where behaviors are coming from, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And because those records in the military, it's just being passed on to the next. Okay, this dog was trained. Now it's going to be shipped out to a handler somewhere. Here's all the
Right.
training records. Here's what went into it. Blah 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 blah. And so it's the same concept. It just goes into a basic. I am the trainer. Here's your dog, your handler. Blah blah blah. If you want to get more involved in your dog's training, your
Yeah.
dog's handling, I encourage you to fill these out on your own.
Right.
And so it's
It's cool to see
how
how you were doing that. And you had, I mean, maybe you said you've been thinking about the app for a while, but back when you're just helping these guys out, like getting everything organized, how years later you're taking those skills and you're taking that passion of helping other people and putting it into that app. That's very cool to see.
and that's what it's I feel like I am one of the ones that was very, very lucky, along with others, but being able to work with dogs is such a privilege. And because a lot of us are able to come out into the civilian world and we have a job that translates well
Right.
versus being in the military and hey, my job was infantryman and now
You're like,
I'm a
what are you?
civilian.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I translate? Well, you actually have a lot of leadership and blah 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 blah. How do those skills transfer? It is easier for us dog trainers to be able to take our skills and um, excuse me, get emotional.
No, it's okay, man. It's all right. You're good. I think it's really cool to see the passion that you have. And I think it's you know, it's I don't know. That's not a perspective that I really considered, and I haven't been in the military myself, and I think, looking at it that way as like, hey, this is a privilege, and being able to understand like other people who were maybe infantrymen or flew like planes and that kind of thing. There may not be a specific thing when they get back to civilian life where it's super applicable. So I think that's just a really, really good mindset that you have, man. And I think also being emotional about it, it just, I think being emotional is awesome. I'm a very emotional person, as many of my friends
Appreciate
know, and
that.
I think it just shows the care and the passion that you have for what you do, man. So, there's never a need to apologize for that. And I think I enjoy seeing the passion, hearing the passion, and hearing all of these ideas. I would love to peek inside of your mind and see what's going on. But
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give all the because it's like I have the passion is there to fuel the ideas
yeah,
and everything there. And so
yeah,
that's what it's um because aside from that's what obviously we can talk about military and veterans, but aside from that, there's a
sure,
lot of people that are just struggling civilian day-to-day life
yeah,
that can also benefit from this stuff.
yeah,
And so that
definitely. That's ultimately kind of the therapy dog project and helping people who also may not know that having a dog can be something that really helps them. And I think you're doing an awesome job, man. And you know it's just nice to see that they're good, compassionate people in the world, and that I think you're going to achieve a lot of things, man. And it's cool. What I like about this is that it's just so funny that you're building an app, same as like when we first talked. I'm doing that kind of same thing, but it's very cool to figure that out yourself. So have you been using like ChatGPT to code and such, or how does that kind of look for you? Because I don't know
no,
anything about coding.
no, I don't know anything about coding.
Yeah,
Um, basically, I've been learning about different apps and stuff that are already out there,
nice.
and basically that in taking the set. Like I said, one, I think Jotform is pretty underrated. A lot of people, um, you can make your own forms, and so I think that that's something else that I started pushing with some of the people that have been
Yeah,
following
yeah.
me
So
because
you
a
don't
lot
have to
of
use ones that are already just out there. You can create it how you need it to be tailored.
exactly, and so that's it's just organization. Um, no, I'm going to touch on something real quick.
Yeah,
Um, part of it,
take your time, man. There's no rush at all.
the the suicide prevention aspect of it.
Yeah,
That is the part I don't know why I can talk about just about any component.
sure.
The story. While I was training dogs,
Yeah,
while I was training dogs, having It's the time of my life. My little brother was struggling back at home,
Yeah,
and he ended up taking his own life.
I'm really sorry to hear that, man.
And I appreciate that. He had it, he was on the right tracks.
Right.
But he had a dog that he was working with and everything. Um, and so a lot of my heart, a lot of what goes in to my content,
Yeah,
the app, the everything,
yeah,
is if I could just teach people what is inside of my head that just keeps you going through all of this, could it save more lives? Can we save more lives with more people taking steps in the right direction with the right guidance and everything?
yeah.
Um, and that's what goes into the tracks and all of that stuff too. It's self-paced, but
Sure, sure,
you have guidance every step of the way because there's certifications and all of that stuff.
sure. But ultimately, you have a driving force, and you have, your brother with you, and you have your reason, and you have an incredibly noble cause to, share your ideas and share what you've learned to, prevent further suicides, which is an incredible cause. I'm sure, lots of people who have listened to this, or people who are friends of mine, and have and me personally, I've dealt with a friend who has passed away, and it's it's a tough thing, man. And I spoke in two funerals, and one in September and one in November, and that was a tough time for me. And what I noticed is I wanted to, after that happened, I realized that my passion was finding out what other people's passions are and hearing about them, and being there to support them. And I think those unfortunate occurrences and that tough time in my life where I was kind of all over the place and thinking of a million different ideas and this and that, it's it turns into something. And I feel for you, man. And I think that what you're doing and your reason behind it, is amazing, man. And
I want to
everyone,
say
yeah,
you are awesome at what you do.
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Because that's again the disorganization and all of that. I don't know if you my page, it's awesome dog handling
Yeah,
dude,
yeah,
is tied into the ADHD and stuff.
sure.
So from a psychological standpoint and everything, a lot of people with ADHD struggle one way or another. It's going to branch off into some form of who knows what.
Yep,
Um,
definitely.
and so I think that's something else that I want to put into everything that I'm doing is that um, a lot of people keep asking, are you going to charge for the app? Are you going to charge for the? No. This stuff should be out there for everybody
Sure,
um, to learn from one way or another.
definitely. Definitely.
Um,
I love that. I love that mindset, man. We are less than a minute, so it's Zoom's about to come or cut off, but I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. You're an awesome guy. You're an awesome dog handler. Awesome dude dog handler, right? The
that's what's up, man.
awesome.
I
Thanks again.
appreciate that, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll talk soon, man. Thanks.
Take care.